Liz Dux, a solicitor from Slater and Gordon who represents many of Savills victims. So we've heard apologies today from the hospitals involved, from the Department of Health, from the Secretary of State. Is that enough for the victims?
Those apologies will be very much welcome, and the report is a no-holds-barred report. But what will concern the victims today is still this lack of accountability. We know that staff were told. Why weren't those reports passed on? It's not good enough to say that senior management didn't know. Clearly there was enough knowledge there for Savills to have been stopped decades ago. And what also concerns us is this simply saying, well, it was a different era, it was a different generation, we have improved policies. I don't think my clients will be convinced that this couldn't still happen. It was appalling then, and it would still not be accepted in the 60s what he was doing, and it won't be accepted now. We have to have some sort of a change in the law.
Yeah, and it was interesting to hear the Shadow Health Secretary, Andy Burnham, say that what we've seen in effect is each hospital really investigating itself. Is that an adequate process? Don't we, as he said, now need a full independent inquiry drawing together all of the different aspects of Savills' activities?
There should be some sort of independent inquiry. What Kate Lampard will do later on in the year is publish a further report into recommendations for reform. But an inquiry itself still won't resolve the problem about what you do if someone reports abuse to a member of staff. The government, if they really want to do something about it, they have to reform the law to introduce mandatory reporting for those in regulated authorities so that they are compelled to pass reports of abuse on.
People in these hospitals knew what was going on. Indeed, some of the staff were the victims themselves. So why, apparently, in Leeds, according to this report, was this not referred up to senior management at any point, or do you think it may have been?
Well, exactly. I mean, we heard evidence about a member of staff, a nurse, reporting the sexual assault to a consultant who called her a silly girl. And that wasn't that long ago. So I don't think it's acceptable to say senior management didn't know. We don't have evidence about that. We do know that members of staff were told. And in that case, there must be greater accountability. This must be gone into in greater detail.
And should individuals feel the full force of the law if indeed they are found to be blamed? But looking through these reports, it doesn't name individuals as having let these victims down, as far as I can see.
No, that's right, and that's what concerns us. What also concerns us, if someone had been found who had known about it and deliberately hidden it, they still couldn't be prosecuted, because without the reform of the law, there is no criminal sanction at the moment which compels anyone to pass this information on.
Liz Dux, thank you very much indeed for joining us. So many questions, despite the scale and depth of these reports about this process, where it goes from here. We know there's going to be a fuller report from Kate Lampard drawing together some of these strands later on in the year, and she is going to be putting out some lessons for the future. But there will be those who say what is still needed is a full independent inquiry into Jimmy Savills' activities.